Fumbling, got one right. And good for Shannon Sharpe. I don't know why he's doing it. I don't know. You know, Shannon Sharpe famously showed himself having the sex or heard himself having the sex. So I always wonder what guys' ulterior motives are that are dumb enough to put out a sex tape, even if it is an audio. I do. And I don't care what the topic's going to be. The topic could be NFL. The topic could be women's basketball. The topic could be NBA. I don't care. But when you're dumb enough to put out a sex tape, yeah, I'm questioning everything about you, but I'll give him credit. He goes off. There's a lot of ESPN crime these days. He goes off on his coworkers. Denouncing those that did. Denouncing Caitlin Clark and her abilities. Yeah, that's right. Her playing abilities, saying she's box office baby. And those who slandered her should be ashamed. Let's hear from mumbling, stumbling, tumbling, Shannon Sharpe.
Stephen A., I would be remiss if I didn't say this. A lot of this noise came by people that were sitting on this network. They tried to minimize her, said, well, you giving her all this credit. What about the women that came before her? What the women came before her, what they did cannot be taken away. That ain't got nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. But there was a lot of people tried to make sure they keep Caitlin Clark in her place, because what you're doing, if you give her all this shine, you minimize what they done. You can't minimize what Maya Moore or Candace Parker or Lisa Leslie or Lauren Jackson or Diana Taurasi or Simone Augustus or any of the other great players. That Caitlin Clark, what she's doing doesn't minimize what they've done, but we should have been giving her the credit. We saw the ratings, we saw the merchandise sales, we saw the attendance, but y'all want to make it about something else. Oh, what about the women that laid the foundation? What about this? What about it? That ain't got nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is box office. She's doing this. And instead of giving her credit, y'all tried to make it about, oh, y'all poo-pooing the old guard. Y'all never talked about the old guard like this. Nah, I ain't gonna let it slide.
And let me chime in real quick. That was a great take. You know, I actually did a full video. Make sure you guys check it out on Uncut. So when it comes down to Caitlin Clark, when it comes down to everything that was said when the Olympic break happened, that is when Stephen A. and Shannon Sharpe pretty much went off the very first time. Not went off, but pretty much try to hold them in check, because that's when I think it was Malika Andrews or whoever the case was. It might have been Molly, pretty much stating that you know, Caitlin Clark is not as good as the 12 that are on the roster. Well, she had better stats than two of them. You know, Chelsea Gray only played one game all year, and then you had Taurasi, who Caitlin had better stats. Now, when you look at the Olympics, those two specifically stunk it up. They barely played. They didn't even have a real point guard, true point guard out there running the floor. So you're telling me, and the whole point of the situation was Caitlin Clark is such an impact, has viewerships, has everything you could think of, fan base. She's the golden ticket, right? Why wouldn't you make room on that roster to add Caitlin Clark in there to take her to Paris? Because the main objective is to grow the WNBA, correct? So now they're going to throw it in your face, because not only do her numbers prove that she is the highest and most talked about and most viewed women's basketball player to ever pretty much exist, she is now busting everyone's ASS on the court as well after the break. So now it's a double whammy. So now they're going to go ahead and go at you, and now they're going to really hold you accountable. See, when I watched the whole show, Stephen A. and Shannon Sharpe were not letting it fly. They were calling out the network, pretty much letting it be known that you guys are the ones stirring all of this stuff and pretty much saying that she doesn't belong on that roster, and asking, oh, well, who would you take out of the roster? It's not fair to the ones who actually deserve, is what they said. It's not fair to the ones that actually deserve to be there. Well, I feel like you guys took that away from Caitlin. She deserved to be there with viewership and everything alone. And they state, see, Dan's not going to play the full thing, but as they state in the NBA, when it comes to Team USA, they have found a roster spot if needed when it comes to that golden ticket type of player. When it comes to growing the NBA, because it's not about that 2-week moment. You see how fast the Olympics went by? You see how nobody really, it's over. The Olympics was over in 2-3 weeks. The WNBA is constant. It's year by year, right? So our objective was to grow the WNBA at its all-time highest when we have the peak of peak with Caitlin Clark entering the WNBA. You have the opportunity of a lifetime, and we're not going to take Caitlin. But you should have, even if Caitlin didn't get to play, which she would have, because that was another thing they said, well, how much minutes is Caitlin Clark going to get? She probably would have got more minutes than Taurasi and Gray. Gray's coming off an injury, hobbling up and down the court, not even ready to play. Come on, man. We had the opportunity to change the W more and more and more by taking her to Paris and gaining national coverage. National. Not just a little bit of fans, no, national. And that was the main objective. And now we have to wait another 4 years, which it will be in LA, for something like this to happen. So let's continue. But that it's frustrating when you really think about it. It really is.
Hey, good for you, because the old guard didn't do nothing. No, really. I mean, 27 years. 27 years, and even this year, if you think about it, how many teams had to move arenas, small venues, into bigger venues? You know, the Las Vegas Aces did, and they've won the title 2 years in a row. They're playing in about a 5,000-seat arena. Guess what? Caitlin comes in, and it's 17,000. Let me ask you a question. Simple question. What exactly did the old guard do? What exactly did all those names that he got off Wikipedia, what exactly did they do? They did nothing. They managed to have a summer league that sustained itself by the NBA, which means it didn't sustain itself. You see what I did there? That was a bit Kamala Harris. That sustained itself by the NBA, but it really didn't sustain itself. That's like saying the kids of our community are the kids of our community. You got to think deep, like me and Kamala. We're deep thinkers. We go places others don't. That's right. But anyway, what did they really do? They cost a lot of money. They drew no interest. They flew commercial, just like you and me. Most sports organizations don't. They fly private. Salaries abysmal. TV ratings non-existent. Yeah, ESPN had to prop them up. That's great. But what did they really do? Did they bring a wild, crazy, even Tim Tebow-like interest? Even Josh Allen-like interest? Was there any city, even a city, that was excited, couldn't wait for the WNBA game that night? The answer, of course, is no. Now, Sid D's, not only Indianapolis, but Vegas. Not only Indianapolis and Vegas, but New York, Connecticut, you name it. They're excited when the Caitlin Rhodes show comes to town. That's what should have happened with others. That's what could have happened with others. But everybody played the same, and I'll continue to say it. And what Shannon Sharpe isn't saying is that y'all made it about race. Y'all made it about sex. His counterparts at ESPN were too afraid to upset the LGBT, A, B, C, D, whatever the hell it is, community. His partners at ESPN were too scared to upset the crazy-ass women that work at ESPN, the insane people who act like children on a daily basis. But because those inside Building 4 gave away the power to those crazy-ass women, guess what? Everybody on the television was, for whatever the reason, afraid. What are you afraid of? That Andrea Carter is going to stop you in the hall and act like a fool? That Chimmy, whatever her name is going to stop you in the hall? No. They were all afraid to stand up and say, yo, you're just being racist. We know it. You know it. You're just being sexist. This is a straight white girl. I don't know the sexual orientation of those on television at ESPN, except we all learned that at least Elle Duncan had some kids, has some C-section. We learned that in a very weird way. But those women are very weird. They're insane. Anyway, long story short, I do know this. I do know that the nation was captivated by Caitlin Clark in college, and that, ladies and gentlemen, bumped itself up into the WNBA. I also know this. It's killing the NBA. It's killing the NBA that these guys aren't getting brands in college. it's killing the NBA that Michael Jordan doesn't have 3 years of playing every day at North Carolina and then comes into college. I remember when DJ White, Big Ten most valuable player, played for me in 08. I told him, I said, you're going to go to the NBA. You're going to go somewhere, I don't know, Sacramento, I don't know, and you're never going to be on national TV again like you are in college. It's kind of weird. I wasn't saying it for any reason other than we were having a discussion. It's kind of interesting. So the WNBA got the value of ESPN's terrific women's coverage. They cover the game, not the people covering it. They're idiots. But the coverage of the sport is terrific. Ryan Rucco's fantastic, by the way. I digress. Having said that, though, Shannon Sharpe is right. That is not disparaging the old guard who did absolutely nothing. It is simply celebrating the most interesting, most fascinating, most connected to the public woman to ever come into the league.
Great point. And as stated, when the question was, how would her fans react if she didn't get playing time? I don't think her fans would have been mad, frustrated, anything. I think it was just an opportunity for jersey sales, coverage, to get to put eyes on those maybe other 11 players on Team USA, brand deals, TV network deals. It was more than just basketball. You got national branding there, national. So yeah, Stephen A, Shannon Sharpe, there was more than just that being said. There was a whole lot to the subject. So you have to watch the full video. There was a lot going on, and Stephen A and Shannon were not going for it. And they were pretty much letting it be known, hey, first team all WNBA, top 5 in the league for sure. MVP votes, record breaking. They kept going on and on. Teams in the playoffs, yada, yada, yada. You already know the deal with Caitlin Clark. It's nonstop. It's every day. But for some reason, there's this group of women and men, but mostly women, veterans in the league, sisters of other players in the league, etc., or women who cover the game, had this hatred look and act towards them when it came to Caitlin Clark. And that's just, it's all over the internet. It's all over the internet. They were calling her out. They were saying she's not adapting. She's playing terrible. People are talking about her shot selection. Just all kind of people lying on her name, lying about stats. We can go on and on and on and on. And then really when it came down to the Rookie of the Year thing earlier on, these women were just out of their mind. There was just no way they believed anything that they were saying. Nothing. So when it comes down to what Shannon Sharpe is saying, it's like, look, she proved everybody wrong. That's pretty much what his statement was, without saying, like, she proved all you guys wrong. And I'm not going to let you guys continue to do it. I'm going to hold you guys accountable. Because look what she's doing. At 22 years old, top 5, and stated, best guard in the league. Best guard in the league. She should have went to Paris. And she could have outplayed three of those guards on that team. And as I stated, you guys can be like, why are we talking about Paris? Why are we talking about Team USA? Why are we talking about the Olympics? I told you guys when all of this happened, a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, that this will never be forgotten. This was going to be the snub of snubs. This was going to be one of the all-time snubs that nobody will stop talking about because how much of an impact Caitlin Clark has, but everybody continued to keep saying, it has to do with her and Angel Reese. Take her and Angel Reese. Well, guess what? The numbers completely tell that Caitlin Clark is the bull when it comes to the WNBA. Regardless of what you think she could do on the court or off, that committee or coaching staff or whatever for Team USA should have had Caitlin on that roster first. 100%. She should have been on the roster first. They should have built the roster around her. Then you add the Asia, the Nafisa. Yeah. You add all that stuff. No problem. So, look, man, we're going to have a big day. Game 2. Fever, they're going to have to come out. They're going to have to play hard. They're going to have to play their game. They're going to have to make shots. And they're going to have to be physical. and they're gonna have to rebound. They're gonna have to play defense. And they could do it, but they got to get one game back in Cambridge. They have to get one game back at home to give themselves a legitimate shot at winning this thing. They can go out and shock people if they go back to Indiana. You win this game, you get momentum, you go back to Indiana, win the series, and you will shock everybody in the WNBA. So that's all I got for you guys, man. It's your boy C.O. Connor. I appreciate you guys. Welcome to the channel. Shout out to Outkick. Shout out to Dan. Always coming through with some great content. Besides that, I will catch you guys on the next one. I'm out.